right, Black and White Network supporters, let's talk about Christmas parties. Or in this case, how about a racist-ass Christmas party? Can you imagine working for a local government entity and throwing out an email, throwing out an invitation, Christmas party on December the 13th, whites only? Think about that a minute, because that's basically what we're going to be talking about here. This is the equivalent. You're talking about a segregated Christmas party in 2023. I would continue to say the George Floyd situation set us back 40 years in race relations. Only instead, it's the other side. It's the radical leftist side, the progressive side, that's set us back. The very people that said they didn't want segregation anymore is pushing for it. Let's just be real. When you see this, there's no other way to interpret it. No whites allowed at Boston mayor's Christmas party. Electeds of color only. I couldn't believe it. Well, I don't know. I can't say I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I guess I couldn't believe it. Even with everything we go over lately, I couldn't believe it. There's the, there's the image right there. This is wild. Post-millennial Lives of TikTok posted a shocking email by the office of Mayor Michelle Wu to invite officials to, quote, electeds of color holiday party. Have you noticed all the violence on Asians? Question mark? Just wondering. In Chicago, in New York? Sure seems like a lot of Asian hate these days. I don't know that I'd exclude anybody. It was sent by Denise Dos Santos, the director of city council relations, on behalf of Mayor Wu, and the email, quote, was mistakenly sent to city council members, including white ones. Uh-oh, it wasn't supposed to get out. It got out by accident. The Boston Herald had the full report. You mean the Boston Herald did actual journalism? I'm floored. The Boston Herald had the full report saying that after the gaffe, there was an apology and mixed reactions. I'm sure there would also be a lawsuit from somebody somewhere onto the mayor's office and the city government. Why? Discrimination and racism. The party was set to take place on Thursday at Parkman House on Beacon Street in Boston. The email was sent out for 15 minutes before DeSantos sent out a second email apologizing for the first, saying the invitation was only intended for those who were invited, namely the 6 counselors of color, and not the 7 white counselors. So let me get this straight. It's not racism if you don't get the email. No, that's not right, and everybody knows it's not right. We meant to do this. We just didn't want you to find out about it. Well, I mean, that's crazy. DeSantos said, I wanted to apologize for my previous email regarding a holiday party for tomorrow. I did send that to everybody by accident. I apologize if my email may have offended or came across as so. Sorry for the confusion this may have caused. The confusing part is why in 2023 you are separating people out by color and doing it obviously like it's no big deal. The matter-of-factness of this is equally offensive. No big deal, nothing to see here. We're offended that you're offended. Kiss my white ass. You've got to be kidding me right now. Despite the apology, quote, elected of color counselor Brian Worrell defended the segregated Christmas. How can you possibly defend this? There is no excuse for it, none. Brian Worrell defended the segregated Christmas party that would exclude white people, saying, quote, we make space and spaces for all kinds of specific groups in the city and city government. This is no different in the elected officials of color has been around for more than a decade. You know also what it's no different than? How about whites only water fountain, blacks only water fountain, whites only bathrooms, blacks only bathrooms. This is horrible. And this is despicable at the highest level. At the highest level. You know, I've heard progressives say this, that white people have no right to call out racism because racism for them don't exist, and we don't have the right to even think it does. That you're seeing some of that right here. Others chimed in saying that because DeSantis meant no ill will, the exclusion of some counselors based solely on their race was acceptable. Elected of color counselor Tanya Fernandez Anderson also thought it was totally fine to hold a party segregated by race. I would fire you all. In her view, there was, quote, no need for apologies at all. The email should not offend anyone. Are you mentally ill? Make asylums great again. You're a racist. Plain and simple. No other way around it. And you know what? They know this is racist, and they're okay being racist. In fact, I believe that some of this is just taking on forms of revenge. Well, two bad things don't make a good thing. It's just two bad things. For Anderson, it's completely natural for elected officials of color to gather for a holiday celebration. How has this not been stomped out immediately, much less go on for a decade? And intentionally exclude their colleagues based on their race alone. The electeds of color group contains all counselors who are not white, and not being white, in Anderson's view, is enough. Quote, many groups celebrate and come together in various ways, and it's not about excluding anyone. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it's about. And you're not even trying to hide it. Instead, it's about creating spaces for like-minded individuals to connect and support each other. Anderson said, for Anderson, Wu's decision to segregate counselors is based on race is commendable. This lunatic mayor is actually getting praise for this. Boy, we're in dangerous times, folks. City Council Frank Baker, whose term is coming to an end, saying that the segregated holiday party was unfortunate and divisive. No shit. But made sure to tell the Herald that he wasn't personally offended. That's the problem. All you whites up there won't open your mouths and say this is racism. Oh, and by the way, that person right over there standing there with that piece of paper, you're getting served with a lawsuit for discrimination. Quote, I don't really get offended too easily, he said, noting that not being invited to a party wasn't enough to ruffle his feathers. Pathetic. Baker also didn't understand why there would be a segregated Christmas party hosted by the mayor's office, calling it, quote, not a good move, especially considering internal issues there have been on the council. I can only imagine. I bet it's a shit show, a clown show continuously. DeSantis claims to be, quote, a passionate advocate for bridging the gap between city resources and her community. Wu has been an advocate for specifically of black elected leaders. Earlier this year, she spoke about how great it was for her to, quote, have the chance to be surrounded by black excellence, black joy, black brilliance, and black persistence every single day here working for the city of Boston. Wow. So let me understand this. You're Asian, right? So if there are some black criminals outside of your office and they look to do harm, do you believe they're going to look at you and see that you're Asian and that you're the mayor? And do you think your segregated Christmas party is going to make a difference to them before they whack you in the head with a damn pipe so they can carjack your car? I mean, come on. When criminals go to commit crimes, they don't bring race into it, and they don't care about your virtue signaling. I'm just using that as an example. It could be white thugs on the corner, too, that could pop your head with a pipe and carjack you. But my point is, your virtue signaling to the worst of the worst don't mean anything. That's crazy to me that this is happening. 2/3 of our cabinet are black, including the chief of economic development, Segun Agbawu, who said when you look at who makes up the cabinet, there are black folks running operations, running community engagement, running communications, running the police department, running emergency management, running transportation, running the economy, and running development. Now, I mean, I don't know about the black part, but running the city into the ground, it sounds like what all of you are doing in a group effort right now. Wow. You know what's funny? All these years, Boston has supposedly been racist. Turns out, we're right. They are racist. After all, racist against whites. Wow, unbelievable. So let me understand this. If y'all are doing all your business based on race, what happens if a black cop pulls over a white person? How's that going to go? Being influenced by all of you obvious racists that are in the city council and running leadership. I'm just wondering, are any actual white people getting jobs or even a fair shake at getting jobs? Question mark? Because my gut feeling is you are putting color into every single thing that's done in that city, every single position, and every single hiring practice. And that also means, by the way, for you citizens, whether you're black, brown, polka dotted, white, regardless of color, guess what? You're not getting the most qualified people running your city. You're getting people hired based on race, my guess. Just call it a hunch at this point. That's speculation, but I bet you we could call it an educated guess. Wow. That's crazy. Folks, that just tells you right here, in certain parts of the country, it's okay to be openly racist. It's fine. Again, as I started this video, can you imagine if it was a Christmas invitation sent out and on it said whites only? Can you imagine? It would be on every mainstream media news outlet that existed. There would be strings of employees coming in to tell their story about how racism is holding them down, and there would be lawsuits everywhere. And you would have Al Sharpton walking through the building. I mean, we know how this goes. Joy Reid would have entire programs dedicated to it. The View, Sonny Hostin, and Whoopi Goldberg would have literal cardiac arrest. It's possible they would get up on a table and literally give birth to kittens. Only black ones. I mean, you wouldn't want any other kittens because they'd be, I mean, that wouldn't promote the correct level of virtue signaling for that show. My God, folks. The level of open racism that exists in this country now is scary. It's frightening. Oh, but now you know what we've been dealing with. No, come on, stop it. Stop it. You will not convince me there is not a level of vengeance and revenge that is tied to everything you see now. Well, we're going to get back at you. Look, lady, I've never owned a single slave. Neither has any other white person I've ever met in my entire life. And nobody I know goes around driving around wearing Klan hoods. That doesn't happen. Nobody's burning crosses anywhere anymore that I have ever heard of. And I cannot get and be around more rednecks than I am around right now. On a regular basis. It does not happen. It does not exist. And if you think it does, you're an ignorant dumbass. No other way to say it. I mean, it's wild. Again, only Trump designated the Ku Klux Klan as a domestic terrorist organization. The one guy they call the racist all the time. Obama didn't do that, by the way. Big Mike's husband didn't do that, by the way. The black president didn't do that, by the way. Trump did it. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network supporters. Oh, Rhodes got kind of raw today. He said some edgy things that's going to offend some folks. Good. I hope you're royally offended. Jesus. Wake up. If you are in support, wake up. You're poisonous. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.